Today we're joined by Stacy and Dan. Stacy is a match coordinator, I believe, specialist at that. And then Dan, he's been involved with teammates for a while now. Has had a mentee who I believe just graduated, correct?
Yes, last year.
Yep, just last year. And then Stacy, you have a current mentee as well, right? Or is he also just graduated?
Well, I have a former mentee who graduated last year.
Okay.
I have a new mentee that he started with this year. So
Absolutely. So like she said, we're going to have 4 stories ahead. We're going to be talking about hopefully some fun stories that happen along the way and maybe how you can get involved. Because this will be the last show for a while here before these guys get back. So again, if you guys want to join the conversation, Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. So Dan, I'll kind of go ahead and start with you. And I'm just kind of curious, you just had a mentee graduate. When did you originally get started with teammates? And then, what was kind of that force that really made you decision that this is something I want to be a part of?
Okay. Yeah, like you said, my mentee graduated last spring.
Mm-hmm.
And I started with him. His name was Christopher. And when he was in 7th grade. So it was a good, a 6-year run? Yeah. From a 7th grader through graduating senior. I signed up in the fall of when he was in 7th grade. And I remember I heard the teammates, and it was kind of in the back of my mind, like I should take a closer look at that sometime, just a way of giving back to the community and getting involved and making a difference in someone's life. And church, Lincoln Berean had a special banquet for, it was like 55 and older people, that might be looking ahead to retirement, maybe time starting to free up. They're starting to think about ways to get involved in the community. And Tom Osborne was the guest speaker that evening. And Mark Larson, the principal at Lincoln High, was also a speaker. And of course, Tom, outlined the program, and Mark kind of emphasized what the needs are at Lincoln High. And they had it set up where there was an opportunity to sign up, and teammates would get back to us. And so I thought, well, no better time than now.
Yeah.
And so I signed up and got the ball rolling. And short order, they called me up and said, let's start some training, do a background check, and we'll get you connected with a mentee.
That's awesome, especially you had the Tom Osborne sales pitch going for you as well. I hear a lot of those stories, and I'm always a little jealous of those guys. I'm like, man, that'd be cool. And just again, it's credit to what this thing has become, because you got to remember, it used to be a lot smaller of a thing with just those student athletes, and what's become now, it's absolutely incredible. So kind of switching to you, Stacy, you're a match support specialist. You also have a mentee, and we'll dive into that later. But what does that role, being a match support specialist, mean for you? Like, what does that all entail for teammates?
As a match support specialist, I do everything to support matches. So I have a certain number of schools, from high school, middle school, and elementary schools, that I work with the facilitators at those schools, make sure they have everything they need because they're actually the ones that match the mentor to the student that's to become a mentee. And then once they're matched, my job is to support the facilitator, supporting the mentor and the mentee both. And then we also do a lot of things through our office that help to support matches. So one example, we do community service projects on a monthly basis. We partner with someone in the community, another organization, and we always talk to them ahead of time and let them know we'd like to do something, and we figure out what would be most beneficial for their clients. So earlier this year, we did a service project for the Friendship Home. And so we made some, it's like a picture holder. It's made out of wooden, wooden spool, and a dowel, and a clothespin. So the matches got to decorate that. So we put all the supplies together. We whoever wants to do it can sign up for it. We'll send it to the school, and then they do it. So that's one of the things that we do, and kind of in the background at our office. We put together different academies during the school year. So this year for middle schools, we went to the school and did what we called a connection academy. So mentors and mentees that are already meeting there at the school, they might have to change the day that they meet so we can get them all together. And we talked about strengths. So they got to do the Gallup's strengths, and they got to work together as a mentee mentor pair to figure out what they're good at, and we had some fun activities for them. Then at the high school level, we are starting this semester to do those connection academies, and we are supporting matches in learning about purpose and just identifying their purpose, talking about college and the future. So that's a lot of fun too. So those are some examples of ways that a match support specialist gets involved.
Yeah, and I believe last week I heard too, like those do-it-yourself little projects that you guys are sending in the mail. It sounds like they're taking off in popularity a little bit.
They are, yes. We need more and more kits every year to make. So we're over 100 kits that we're making right now.
Okay, and then you guys just make that idea yourself. You just it's all your guys' ideas on putting those together.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes the community partners will come up with the idea. We'll approach them and say, "This is something we're thinking about," and then they oftentimes will have a different idea that's more beneficial, and so we'll run with whatever they would like.
Dan, you ever do any of those projects? Do you remember?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they were going on when I was involved or not. They were. Okay.
We've been doing them for 5 years now. This is our 5th school year.
I suppose you probably have mentors and mentees, though, that all kind of like doing different things.
They do, yeah. A lot of them play games. I'd be curious to hear what Dan and Christopher like to do together.
Oh,
what did you guys do?
Well, it started off, of course, and I wanted to say that, whoever matched us did an amazing job. Good. And I don't know if you were involved at that time or not, but I'm a retired architect now. And, practiced here in Lincoln with the firm for 44 years. And Christopher ended up wanting or being interested in engineering. So, two related kind of allied industries, professions. And so through the course of our, term in teammates, I was able to really mentor him as far as what it takes to, get through school and on beyond school to the university and become an engineer someday. And that's the pursuit he's on right now. He's at the university his first year in civil engineering. And so that was an excellent match. And it brought me back to the days when I was in his shoes and just kind of considering that daunting thing of let alone getting to school, but then deciding what your career might be and then pursuing that, at the university level and ultimately getting the job and practicing. So, I was able to kind of help give him a lot of confidence on the way, pointers, what to look for, call him his nerves, tell him he's going to do just fine. And so that was a really nice part of the match. But, getting started with him, first meeting him at Park Middle School in the media center there.
And he was 7th grade, right?
He was in 7th grade.
Okay.
Yep. And to think of the difference between him as a 7th grader and him as a graduating senior is pretty remarkable to watch a person grow up.
Now he's
those
at
years.
UNL as well. And is that where you went to school as well?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I can definitely see how you guys would get along on that. Engineer and architect, those are two daunting majors for some people. So I'm sure that's a lot of confidence to have you like, oh, he's been there. He's done it. And again, I'd imagine that's kind of a lot of what you guys try to do. You want that mentee to maybe see a little bit of themselves in that mentor. Is that kind of what you're hoping for? Because I know you're not getting mentors to be, hey, you need to help this kid in school. Hey, you need to help this kid in basketball. You just want them to listen. So when you're kind of putting those together, what are you really looking at to create these great matches?
We're looking at what they have in common, what they have, their similar interests, personality types. Mentors and mentees both fill out a little interest survey, we call it, and that gives us an idea ahead of time who might be good matches together. And it's just a tool that we use to help us. So we might send, in fact, just today, Lynn is my coworker who assigns mentors to schools, and she noticed that there was a mentor who matched up with pretty significantly between two young mentees at one of the elementary schools. And it looked as if either student would be a good fit for this particular mentor. So it seemed like a no-brainer. Like, we're just going to go ahead and send this mentor to this school, and then we leave it up to facilitators to decide. Because of course we're just looking on paper, and we don't have that. That's exactly why we have these school facilitators that know the students and can meet with the students. Then they also meet with the mentor, and they talk to them individually before they decide who to match with. But I've heard so many stories of good matches. I think our facilitators do a really great job. We do some training with them every year, just even a refresher training, but they just know those students so well, and then they get to know the mentors, and we just have some remarkable mentors. We are so fortunate to have so many awesome people in the city of Lincoln that have volunteered to do this, and we're looking for more.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say, I think you guys do a great job on matches, because some of my favorite stories I hear a lot of times, they'll go to their, mentees' high school graduation, and from at that point on, you guys are saying, you're not saying the relationship's over, but you're no longer doing the paperwork for them. You're not setting up those meetings. But then 4 years later, that same person got to watch them graduate college, and that relationship just never ended. So it's really cool that those matches last. But I do want to ask if we have any mentors, they're thinking, I don't have enough time in the day. Maybe my kid has Wednesdays open at the school and I can't be there on Wednesdays. How flexible are those schools, with those mentors, so they can get in and actually get that hour in? And how flexible are you guys? Like, what are you asking time-wise from someone who wants to be a mentor?
Great question. We look at usually just one class period, which is roughly 50 minutes. And if a mentor didn't even have that much time, 30 minutes to 45 is great too. I mean, 30 minutes, I would say, would be the minimum time frame that we would want a match to meet. It's really not about the length of time. It's about the consistency, meeting weekly. That's what's more important, honestly, and what the research really shows is beneficial. So lunchtime, lunch and recess kind of combination can get us 40 minutes before school and after school. Some schools actually don't want to take kids out of any of the classes or core classes. Sometimes the students just don't want to miss class either. So they are like, can we do it over lunch, or can I stay after school? We don't have very many matches that meet before or after school, but those are options. They just have to meet on school property. And the majority of our schools are quite flexible with the time frame. There's always a couple options. On one occasion, I had a mentor that also was a student. She was a student at UNL. And so she had kind of some restrictions on time herself due to her class schedule. And we had to reassign her to a different school, because the first place we sent her, just when the student was available, her mentee, or her potential mentee, we didn't actually match them, didn't match up with her availability. So that's the only time in the whole 6 years I've been with teammates that that's happened. So.
Okay, that's good to know. And then, Dan, I'll kind of bring it back to you. And again, for the text line, if you guys want to join the conversation, Starter Heyman text line 402-464-5685. And if you want to put a face to the voice, we're also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch as well. But Dan, I wanted to ask you, when you first became a mentor, she's talking about the time and the consistency that's required. Did you have any sort of trepidation in those early meetings? Like, am I making an impact on this kid? Is this consistency working, or was it pretty cut and even right at the beginning that you felt like you're making an impact?
Well, it took a little while to kind of realize that, hey, this kid really does want to meet with me every week, and there were times when I'd kind of go, well, why, but kind of got through that and realized that, hey, this is this is a relationship that's building and it's working. And we would take a look at our schedules at the beginning of every semester, and what Christopher would do is he'd pick a period in the week that wasn't elective. They wanted to avoid kind of the core subjects and the harder subjects.
Yeah, it makes sense. You'd have to make up for something like calculus.
Exactly. Yeah. And so he'd pick something that he could stand to miss a period a week in. And my schedule was flexible, and he was going to Park Middle School at the time, and then he went on to Lincoln High School. My office was downtown, so running out of the office and getting to those two schools in time for an appointment wasn't a problem. And it just worked out. I think every year we got certificates for, meeting the threshold on 20 meetings or 25 meetings.
24,
Yeah, 24
yes.
meetings.
24 is the
Yeah,
magic meeting,
yeah.
and that's just
Yeah.
the high school year, right? You're just going by, what's it, 32 out of
There's 36 weeks in a school
36?
year,
Okay, that's what it
and
is.
we encourage mentors to strive to meet 24 times out of that school year. And the reason is that the research shows that when a student has that consistency from
Mhm.
a mentor, we see an improvement in grades, attendance, and behavior. And so it's what we strive for. It's, that gives leeway for people. We're not expecting perfection. No need to come every week for 36 weeks. That's just nearly impossible. So yeah, that's answers
Yeah, and
that.
there was never a time in those 6 years when, I thought, well, there's gonna come a time when Christopher will just blow it off or forget about it or something else
Mhm.
will come up, and that never happened. I mean, we always knew ahead of time if we had a conflict and worked through the coordinator at the schools, to make sure that, we didn't show up in the media center during that time.
That's
And,
awesome.
the coordinator was really good about getting the word out, letting either one of us know if there was a conflict and we needed to just skip a week.
Okay, and then I kinda wanna ask you this, because Stacy said the kids have a way better, just overall, they seem to do better in school, even if, that mentee's not teaching them anything, it's just consistency and being there and listening. But I hear the same for work as well for the mentors. They might go back to their job after that meeting, and they almost feel more productive, and some of the businesses kinda like it when they have people that are involved with teammates, because they come back almost even better workers. Did you ever feel kind of that extra boost of energy after those meetings?
Yeah, absolutely. It's invigorating. And, here you are interacting with a young person and
Mhm.
they've got energy and you're able to interact with them and help them make a difference in their lives, give them advice. And you walk away from that just feeling really good about that and energized. So you get back to the office and absolutely was a difference maker.
That's awesome to
Yeah.
hear. And then, Stacey, what about you? Because I know you currently have a mentee right now as well. Do you
Yeah.
kind of feel that same
Yeah.
productiveness after those meetings?
When I first, changed jobs and went to Lincoln Public Schools, I heard about, "Oh, you should be in teammates, you should be in teammates." Well, I felt like, "Well, I gotta get a feel for my job. I better,
Mhm.
like, wait a little bit." So I waited a year went by, and then teammates came up again, and I had coworkers that had mentees, and I'm watching them leave during the day and go mentor and come back, and they just looked super happy, like they had a great time. So finally, I signed up and I became a teammates mentor before I started working for teammates, and I thought to myself, "Why didn't I do this sooner?" I regretted it so much. It was the best hour of my week. I looked forward to it every week. It was the highlight. I couldn't believe I didn't do it earlier, sooner since I was there and had the opportunity. So, yeah, and it's still true 6 years later. I
That's awesome.
still love, love, love mentoring, and it's just fun. It gets me out of the office too. I think us adults, when we are just grinding at work all day long, day in and day out, that one time, I mean, we should do it more than once a week, honestly, take breaks, but that one break a week when you're interacting with a young person and it just takes your mind off of whatever. We play Uno a lot now.
I hear that's a hot one
Oh
for
my
everyone.
goodness,
That seems to be
yes.
one of the
That's a
more
hot one.
popular ones.
My former mentee, I loved Mancala. That was her game of
Okay.
choice. So I never got tired of that one. I'm bringing a different Uno game tomorrow to Kamaya to introduce that to her. It's Uno Flip. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's fun.
No, I haven't tried that one. I might stay away from Uno on day one, though, just because I know that game, you get a bunch of +4s in a row. You might
I know.
might be a bumpy start.